Welcome to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm Dr. Haig, John, your host, and I have Bianca here with me. I've got Barry Hobbs, I've got Alan Lichter, and I have my man Zach Gower down there. And we are discussing and breaking down Stephenson's 33 principles from the senior text. And we're on principle number 2, the chiropractic meaning of life. Don't you think that's a pretty interesting topic? What's the meaning of life, right? And who is audacious enough to say, I know what that is? You know, that really takes a lot, I've got to say. So, that's what we're going to be talking tonight. Sound like a good plan? Awesome. Oh, here we go, Steve Shargell. I'm letting him in. The shark. So, the expression of intelligence through matter is the chiropractic meaning of life. And, to make something so succinct, right? That's a powerful statement and it makes so much sense. How does that feel to you? What does that mean to you? What do you think? Expression of intelligence through matter is the chiropractic meaning of life. What does that mean to you at 9 years old? Sure. Well, just think about our body is matter, and intelligence is creating you at every moment, right? You're an intelligent being. There's intelligence from above down and the inside out. And so expression of intelligence through matter. And we talked about here before, spirit needs matter to animate itself. Matter needs spirit for the same. So it's an important balance, really. What do you guys feel? Principle number 2, what's on your mind? Senor Shargell, good to see you down there. This is a discussion.
Yeah.
I think we should read a little more of it and discuss.
I had to unmute myself.
The piece here.
So I had this conversation with the practice member who was not in for a year. Came in, she was explaining all this stuff about her symptoms, and I literally looked at her and was like, it's been a year since you've been checked. Let's turn on your life force. Let's remove that interference. And afterwards, all of her symptoms literally went away after I got her off the post-scan table. And I literally told her, you and I, point blank, are just pieces of muscle and bone. What animates us is that power, that life force. That's what you really need to pay attention to and open up and connect and keep it expressing itself. Because we could stretch it, we can do all this other stuff to it, but without that expression of intelligence through matter, all this stuff, there is no life.
Period. I'm glad we recorded that because I'm just going to play that to all my patients from now on. This is Dr. Barry Hobbs. He's just said it. Enough said. Drop the mic. Acabo. Right? Listo.
I repeat this every hour on the hour for the next people that come in too.
Perfect. I mean, that's making it simple. Making it simple. And, and those people, I had the same relative talk with a lady today. Zach was there, and I haven't seen her in 5 years. And she said, the same thing. I've been coming for, 5 years, 10 years. And I said, I really haven't seen you in 5 years. She said, I have the same problem across my back. But you have to take care of this temple. We've got to take care of the body. It's the only storehouse we have for spirit. And it's our own personal spirit. That's what innate is. So we honor it by taking care of it. Temple care is what I call it, right? So would anybody like to read the meaning of the term life has many interpretations, which is the description. Go ahead.
The meaning of the term life has many interpretations. It is usually accepted to mean existence or duration, or a vague idea of both. To chiropractic, it is definitely the expression of intelligence, the manifestation of intelligence. Then, in this broad sense, the meaning is not limited to mere organic matter, but includes all matter. Therefore, we will be obliged to make a deductive classification going from the general to the specific. He refers to Article 12 in this book, and deal with the specific, visualize universal life and organic life.
Now I get to pause. So, I go back to the audaciousness of really saying, this is how we describe life. And it makes, and being at ease and able to say it very eloquently, really. What'd you guys get from that? Therefore, we will be obliged to make a deductive classification going from general to specific and deal with the specific. Universal life and organic life. How does that give us a description of expression of intelligence through matter in the chiropractic meaning of life?
Do you want me to say what Strauss says about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Joe Strauss's text comments on this section and says, Stephenson makes it clear that this thing we call life is more than just organic life. By its definition, life includes all matter. He describes universal life as existence, a very apt description in my opinion. So we must distinguish between universal life of existence and innate life, the action of certain organic compounds. He mentions that we will be obliged to make a deductive classification. That is one of the characteristics of deduction. It obligates you. Once we define life as the expression of intelligence through matter, we're locked into, obliged, classifying all matter as living, a description that would be hard for most people to comprehend. Therefore, we must also make further classification, noting the way of universal life and innate life. So there he's talking about why he breaks it up at this point, because once we've said something about it being, and somehow my camera keeps going off there, sorry, because that's, I didn't think about it that way, but that universal is in all things, and we think about life as a moving, living thing, and yet all matter has intelligence. So you have the innate, inspired living things and the organic matter of a stone.
Let's go to the next one.
Okie doke. Article number 311, the union of intelligence and matter. Principle number 3. Life is necessarily the union of intelligence and matter. Without intelligence, matter could not even exist. Without matter, intelligence could not be expressed. We're never aware of motion unless we perceive matter moving. The study of physics shows us that some form of energy gets into matter to make it move. Without this energy, matter is inert. The study of physics also shows us that no matter how totally inert, therefore that no matter is totally inert. Therefore, it always has some energy in it. Energy must have an origin. From its character of precision and accuracy, we deduce that its origin is intelligence, nothing less. These facts from which we derive our conclusions, our axioms, can be perceived everywhere. Our recognition of the intelligence of life or of motion in matter depends upon our ability to recognize law.
Without this energy, matter is inert. That's what we talked about really a moment ago. Spirit needs matter. matter needs spirit to be animate. And without this intelligence, matter could not exist. Without matter, intelligence could not be expressed. We are never aware of motion unless we perceive matter moving. And that's interesting. The study of physics shows that some form of energy gets into matter to make it move. So, the union of it, that does the motion of matter doesn't really have anything to do with intelligence, quite honestly, right?
Well, actually, it does.
Well, the gravity
It's still organized.
in rolling down a hill, with a mechanical.
What about the protons, neutrons, and electrons inside the matter moving at all times?
Well, that's a different thing. When it's rolling, the rolling is that kinetic energy or kinetic energy being expressed. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent, but energy must have its origin from its character of precision and accuracy to deduce that its origin is intelligence and nothing less. Love it. How can we relate this to D.D. Palmer? Or BJ to any of his writings?
Well, on the last sentence here, it says our ability to recognize law, and we're dealing with natural laws. And
Yeah.
DD and BJ always talked about if you go against natural law, you're going to set up disease or disease.
Yeah. The limitation of matter.
Yes. And or also the lack of expression of intelligence through it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I like it. Anybody else before we move on? All right, I'll read this one. The triunity. I like this one. The triunity of life. Life is a triunity having three necessary united factors: intelligence, force, and matter. Should we discuss before we read? I'll just keep rolling. Without intelligence, matter could not even exist. Without matter, intelligence could not be expressed. Then there is a bond between intelligence and matter that cannot be dispensed with. These three factors, intelligence, matter, and the bond between them, are inseparable. The bond is called force. It is sometimes called the missing link. Unlike other sciences, which study them separately, chiropractic studies them all together. From this fundamental arises Dr. Palmer's comparison in this diagram, Article 20. We don't have it right here in front of us. What's the missing link? Partly he's talking about atomic bonds that were just being discovered around this time, right? I would imagine. Spiritual bond.
So the epigram that he refers to is Christian science based on immaterial mind, medical science based on the material matter, chiropractic science based upon the link between the immaterial and the mental. BJ's pun, which is the actual epigram he refers to: Christian science, always mind, never matter. Medical science, always matter, never mind.
Perfection of the triunity. Principle number 5. In order to have 100% life, there must be 100% of intelligence, 100% of force, 100% of matter. The perfection of the triunity. It is obvious that the three factors of the triunity are inseparable. They are not separable in part if 100% perfection is to be maintained, since intelligence is always 100% perfect and always creates 100% of force. It is certain that if any imperfections of the triunity existed, and in parentheses, clinical findings show that they do exist. That okay, I'll start that over again. It is certain that if any of the imperfections of the triunity exist, that matter is the only part of the triunity that can be imperfect. I'm going to pause there. So the triunity is intelligence, force, and matter. Matter is the only one that could be imperfect. It's pretty interesting, right? Since matter cannot be destroyed by any lesser agency than the creator, it is obvious that this imperfection is not the matter itself, but the quantity and quality and arrangement of matter. Hence, there's limitation to structures of matter. I like that distinction, right? Because that was the first thing that popped into my mind. In its imperfect building, it is imperfect, its imperfect arrangements, the wrong kind of matter for the purpose or even the lack of matter, which should be in the structure but is not. From this fact arises the expression so often used fundamentally in chiropractic: the expression of intelligence may be hindered by limitations of matter.
Mhm.
Are we really limited? Really, really limited. Really,
Are we
really.
what? What did you
Are we
say?
really limited?
Oh,
Because I think, we think limitless of outside of what our little peanut brains really think of. But when we really think of the infinite, it's impossible to even fathom. But that means the more we're able to tap in, I think, to the fourth dimension, the more we can create for ourselves in our little limited minds.
you know what's so delicious
What's
is
that?
that within this scientific world,
Yeah.
we have, which has excluded, I mean, the word creator he uses. We are within this, the body of science. Here is we are giving voice to the creator, to the non-physical. And that's what I find tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just obvious to repeat the obvious, but the obvious is never anything less than freaking exciting.
I like what you said, giving voice to the creator by trying to understand it on our smallest limited way that we can, but we're giving that power and a voice. I like the way you said that, Stephen. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And what's really neat is on that article before that, they were talking about this is the only profession that links that, because I have had those moments in time in the medical route where they'll say, okay, we're going to give you this, but now we just got to hope that your body accepts it or takes it, which basically is, the innate intelligence taking it. And that's a key distinction of our profession and other professions, because we are following that missing link. And this principle number 5, a couple of huge things here, besides the limitation of matter, is that this intelligence is always 100% always constructive, always helpful.
Yes.
And drop the mic there, just stop the conversation, because I even still have challenges with that seeking in my head and saying, okay, we just need to express this intelligence, because we also want to look at the problems of matter and this other educated stuff that we were educated with and taught. And here Stephenson's repeating this intelligence 100%. The weak link is the matter. The problem is always in the matter. This principle number 5, when you're reading it, Haig, brings up, okay, the structure of matter, and if it's expression, it brings up Darwinism to me, because they were talking the limitations of matter and things here. So innate intelligence over time and consistency over a species. Does innate adapt the body parts, the character, the structure, the bonds to that organism's environment?
Amen to that.
And in
Zach, what do you have
chiropractic,
for us?
our job, as it says, We're not concerned with the matter itself. We're concerned with allowing the universal intelligence, the intelligence, to be expressed more appropriately through the matter. That what, although we have expectations of physiological changes when we touch people, we really don't know how long they'll take, or if they'll happen, or what's going to happen with them. And we may cause a whole new chain, as you were just talking about, of matter to exist that's going to modify the course of humankind on the face of the earth. And we'll never see that come out in our lifetime. But our job is only to allow the expression to be more complete through the matter as it is.
And our old chiropractic schools used to teach exactly what you were saying. Now, if there were some new students listening to this, they'd go, what do you mean? I can't do a blood test on that muscle or that organ or stretch it or do this or that?
You're welcome to do any test you want to see what's going on, because maybe if you adjust them and do it again, then you'll see the change, and that would be the point.
You know,
but the blood test is not to diagnose some blood disease. We do the testing to be able to see if there's a change later on that's happened because we've released that interference and allowed the body to express a healing force within itself.
I studied philosophy as I graduated with a philosophy degree. And there we did talk about an intelligence. The ancient Greeks talked about this essence called pneuma, but the science never. And there was no science at all in the philosophy. Here I discover chiropractic is bringing them, is giving credit where credit is due within the science to that innate intelligence, to that universal intelligence.
Well, when we're really talking about chiropractic, from getting back to DD, I'm just getting back to DD. When chiropractic is, he said the physicians deal with the physical, and that's the whole world really is caught into the physical and work with the physical body. He said chiropractors work with the spiritual and the physical.
Right.
And that spiritual component, nobody else, besides the clergy or, the synagogue or what have you, the spiritual, but combining the two hadn't really, I don't think really was popular. No. That didn't exist. Now people think of mind, body, spirit, but, ultimately this is, cutting edge stuff really, right? And I mean,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What would you guys define innate intelligence as? I want to just go back a minute.
Who wants to field that? We can all answer. Who wants to go first?
Innate is a portion of universal in a living thing.
There you go.
Okay.
It's a part of, but apart from universal.
Would you describe it the same thing as like spirit, where you talk about?
In some ways, yes. I don't know if spirit encapsulates innate encapsulates spirit, not the other way around.
See, I think
spirit may diminish innate.
The spirit might diminish. I think spirit's higher than innate. I think
you're going the other way.
This may be semantics.
Okay.
I don't know. I think they're set out there for a purpose, and I don't think soul is included with that. Dee talked about that in some spots in 1914.
Yeah, Dee talked about innate basically being spirits. Same.
So I guess why I was asking was because, I think that with the adjustment, we connect mind, body, spirit, and we allow the innate to be more fully integrated and expressing, like the laws just said, in the material, in the triune of life, to flow better. But I also think a lot of times people, they can get adjusted, or there maybe their innate is more being fully expressed, but um maybe there's just something that's not encapsulated in that, in that term, like innate, like spiritually, like maybe they could be fully functioning, but there's just something blocked or turned off spiritually. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's kind of hard to maybe express or explain. Maybe even if you think about somebody that's, I don't know, fully like maybe consciousness wise, they're very spiritually in tune, or conscious, but maybe they've never had chiropractic, so maybe their innate isn't expressing as well as it could be, and maybe they aren't as physically healthy or chiropractically, but on a spiritual level they're more connected. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
You know,
And maybe if they were getting chiropractic care, the spiritual connection, as high as it is for them, might be higher.
Definitely, I agree.
They might be able to expand even further.
I'm going to give you go into sort of what Pasquale would kind of talk about as the debris, all the stuff coming from the outside that's
Mm.
blocking our. You can think. I always use like an analogy of a window washer. You don't realize how dirty your windows are until you clean them, and of all that debris coming in and inhibiting, you know, increasing the limitations of matter. If you think about it, like just weights on your shoulder, people talk about the weight of the world on their shoulder. That stress on the matter itself, spirit can handle it, but the matter has limitations. So the more that outside world had become downtrodden and beaten, right? All the garbage from everybody else, whether it's words or actual physical stuff, and that takes a toll in the body. As we break them open, we're cracking open shells, layers upon layers of generational garbage. Think about it, right? So with each adjustment, I think we're allowing more light. And this is where Pasquale talked about the subluxation. It's gotten in fad. Nowhere did DD and BJ talk about less light expression, which people use a lot. Sub meaning less than, lux meaning light, Haitian's the expression of. What Pasquale said, he said, remember, sub also means under the expression of the light. Even these subluxations, really, that's innate saying, hey, help me here. And we just learn how to read the language, refine our fingertips, refine how we analyze things, or use the tools that help us along with it. So I truly feel innate and spirit are not necessarily the same things. I know they talked about it because people weren't ready to hear God and spirit, so we're going to use innate and universal. I think universal, God is bigger than universal, quite honestly. So, those are semantics in a way, and how we have our thought patterns. But being able to break down our philosophy into these principles, to me, and they mean so much. Each one has so much depth that we can read them for years and see them in different ways with different eyes, and with different generations reading them. They're timeless, truly are. Anyway, that's my soliloquy, and I'm sticking to
I
it.
know, I know BJ talked about that voice, to listen to that voice, to when you hear it, to obey it, to write it down, not to ignore it. But did him or did DD or BJ, although they revered that tuning into that, did they instruct how? Did they have any kind of like instructions as to pass on the importance of becoming still and being able to receive innate messages? Did they have a anything other than the adjustment?
I feel most of the green books are BJ just talking about how to get out of educated and pay attention to spirit, to pay attention to
How?
innate.
How, or the importance of doing it? But did they actually talk about how?
Yeah, there was last fall we did a reading. There was a couple of to-dos, things that you could do to entice a Nate to speak to you.
Really? By
Yeah.
BJ? By BJ?
By DD. I believe it was by DD that we were reading. We read it on here. It's recorded. Go back and check the other podcast.
Cool. Cool. I love it.
Yeah, but he gave us some
Subscribe and
tidbits.
share and like, everybody.
How to entice a Nate. You know, Zach, you asked some great questions, and it made me think of a couple of things. One of them is limitation of matter, but it's also that mindset. If that practice member or patient, see, there's semantics, right? They're the same thing. Person coming to you to pay you, right? But anyway, if they're mentally thinking they're not going to get better, right? What most likely they're not going to get better, even though clinically you could probably prove it, but in their head they're not. And I see the same thing with the spiritual aspect. If they believe that they're going to be connected to their intelligence or to their spirit or their creator, as that happens, it's going to be more in integrity, and it's going to happen. That communication is going to be there. And as far as replacing innate with the spirit or Holy Spirit, you know, really, to me, it depends on who I'm talking to. If somebody is, you know, Christ follower, church follower, I'll say it without hesitation because DD does. And yeah, there's differences and nuances, but that's why we have our language, our words, so we can also explain that and express that. But great questions. Just like limitations of matter, there's our educated brain and our thinking. And if we're sending out those negative signals, that's going to interfere with that natural law of expression. So as you let that flow and let that mental impulse connect, technically the educated impulses or thinking should be more clear too. More in integrity, more in alignment. And like Pasquale said, you know, at the end of our death, what's really cool, he said too, is that our heart shifts over into the center chakra, where now that center chakra is going out into the universe, which I thought is pretty wild because I'm really into integrity and things being in alignment, but also in integrity to work and function better.
Yeah, the heart centered. You know, he talked about, you know, we're becoming restructured. Structure determines function. Right now, we're beastly. We're out of balance. The hemispheres of the brain, the testicles, breasts being unbalanced. He said we're still living. He likes to talk about them, you know, but we're out of balance. So as we're being restructured, and, you know, a lot of the pictures of Christ hold, you know, with the heart, or the Mother Mary with the heart is centered. And that's where we're getting to our divine self. As we become more of that, it takes a lot of work to be restructured towards that spiritual being and coming into alignment. And as we're going through, he called them the Jacob's ladder. I showed you the movie yesterday, Zach. Climbing up the ladder, if we try and skip a step, we're going to have to go back and repeat it. And to get through those levels of spiritual attunement, to get to that heart center. So,
doesn't it feel centered to you, like the breath, and you go inside and your innate connection, doesn't it feel like you're right? It's a central thing. And we as chiropractors, we're not here to just improve posture. However, you know that when you get adjusted, you straighten up. You're more into the axis mundi, from heaven to the center of the earth. We are definitely centering inside, and with the that axis mundi.
absolutely, axis mundi. I haven't thought about that in a while. I like it.
Whenever I get adjusted, or whenever I think right, I automatically align. Like this, what we're talking about aligns me here.
You know, that's the thing, is I point that out to people. What happens when you're really feeling great? What do? You sit up straight.
That's right.
You know, that's how important it is. It's time to feel great and be great. You know, your body deserves it. It's your temple. Well, I think that's where we're going to stop, as in principle number 6. Does anybody have anything else?
I was going to say also with the innate intelligence, you know, when it expresses through matter, there's like the physical component of that, you know, it allows the body to work perfection and all the physical properties and ways that it does that to the, perfectly in expressing health and life. And then there's also this quality of innate intelligence that's like beyond our conception or knowing or really understanding. And as a chiropractor, we have to operate in the educated, but also we have to have this duality of stepping out of the educated just to allow our innate to be a chiropractor and have that sense perception to allow their innate and find the subluxation and allow it to clear. And so we're kind of operating in both realms in a sense. And we're just, when I'm watching you, Haig, adjust, you're tuning into their innate intelligence and how it can best express itself. So I think also with innate intelligence is this other higher realm that maybe when we can tap into, it's it has all these other qualities that maybe I'm not even consciously aware of sometimes. And maybe that's what BJ talked about in D-Day when they tuned into the innate, they were kind of tuning into the infinite, and that's where they got a lot of revelation and insight.
We're really lucky to be chiropractors because we learn what we teach, and our job is to teach this. And so we are learning it. And throughout our whole life, every patient, they're not lower than us or not as ignorant as they're with us. Those people that are sent to us by innate, and we get to express it. So we are the ones that benefit so greatly by sharing it. We learn it, it becomes more and more.
We think about this about when we're talking about this innate intelligence. It's your individual God in your body running the show, right?
Yep.
Now, there is no difference. And if God is in all things, including all the molecules in my room, just like in the swimming pool, we're all connected, and all that life, all that energy, there is no real disconnection unless we educatedly put it in the way.
Yeah, right on.
Right?
Right.
And that's why I say that's what Dee and BJ, we've got some spots that were great from. I wish I could recite them from Dee, like Barry was talking about. We'll get back to that. But a lot of BJ's writing was, we've got to get out of this educated. Who is the educated man? He wanted to know, right? But you got to know that you know so much that I don't have to think about it. And I can allow spirit to do the job, and I'm connecting. And that's what, that's what all innate adjusting workshops is all about. That's what we teach. But it takes a lot of work to get out of that educated mind. And sometimes now more than ever with the idiot phones and, the dumb TVs and all those things, So.
Yeah. And I've been taught when a patient comes in week after week, year after year, saying my back hurts, I'm instructed by my seniors, by those wiser than me that came before me to reconnect. No, that's not what we're about. Every time I hear that backache, then it's for me to then reconnect. It's like GPS. That's all. We bring it right back. And I remember at one point, the joke was, you tell the patient they're probably having this problem because it's SNU in their blood, an accumulation of SNU. They go, what's new? And you go, yeah, what's new with you? Whatever it takes to bring us back to where we belong. We don't belong in the backache.
Have you guys ever seen Futurama? Death by Stu. Anyway.
How lucky we are.
Zach reminded me of a quote Sid Williams used to always say, are you into chiropractic, or is chiropractic in you? And Zach, that's pretty cool. You were relating to witnessing Haig adjusting. And that's where, when you're in the work and you do the work, it becomes you. It uses you. And you're just an instrument in that intelligence and force. The only other analogy and example I would give you this, Zach, is if you've ever driven somewhere and you ended up there and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I don't even know how in the hell I forgot to take this exit. You were in the zone. And
Yeah.
I guarantee, I haven't witnessed it personally. You have. I guarantee Haig is in the zone when he's adjusting at his office.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
it's on a whole other level. Yeah.
I want to share one thing, and it's not even related, but it is related. I learned this yesterday. I went to the eclipse viewing at the planetarium in Gainesville. I didn't know this, but the the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's 400 times closer to us, creating by coincidence the perfect ability for it to shade and completely cover the sun, no more and no less, so that that corona could be seen. Now, what are the chances of that? Is it grace? Is it science? It's, to me, it's like, I just wanted to share that with you. It's another example of something's going on that is beyond our educated.
I think it's a satellite put there by ancient aliens, but very well
Whoever
could
put
be.
it
How do
there,
I know? I don't really
whoever put
know.
it there is pretty smart.
I mean,
Universal
it's
intelligence.
absolutely amazing. The ratio is perfect. It's too perfect, and it rings like a bell. Bong. There's Alan's back.
How
Well,
lucky we are, huh?
how
Let's leave
lucky
it with
we
that.
blessed every way. Well, gentlemen, it has been a really awesome night, and I got a lot out of it. Principle number 6 is where we pick up next time, and let's discuss it. We'll read it. Let's do more discussion. And we got the discussion picked up at the end. We're gonna keep it going next time. All right.
Enjoy.
Love you guys, man. I get a lot out of these nights. Go ahead, Stephen. What'd you say?
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Exactly. I like to hear that.